I am looking to short into this rally. So many people out there are hook, line, and sinker, bull market back in crypto, bull market back in stocks, bull market back every which way. I'm here to bring some sanity to the otherwise insane world and tell you that that is not the case. This, to me, is the groundbreaking level. A lot of you guys probably saw that CPI number and you listened to CNBC and you're like, oh, it's a better than expected number. Holy cow, this is going to be the greatest thing for the markets. And then all of a sudden, markets are starting to fade here. Wait a minute, what's going on? I thought it was a good number. And so they usually step back. So you're going to lose a few buyers going into that event, which could explain why Ethereum is struggling just a little bit. What I want to talk about today, we got to get into the CPI data. The CPI data is the major factor of the day. It's driving price action this morning. The S&P futures initially popped sharply to the upside. We saw Bitcoin even pop a little bit, although hasn't taken out yesterday's highs yet. We're going to discuss that, as well as gold's price action here in the near term, oil, natural gas, you name it. We're going to cover it today. Consumer prices climbed 5%. At an annual 5% pace in March. What does that mean? Well, that was actually a little bit better than expected. All right. So that's a little bit better. All right. The consumer price index increased 0.1% in March, according to the Labor Department, compared to 0.4% in February. All right. So again, what that's telling us is that inflation is slowing. Overall, I think this report was a slight positive. We are seeing the S&P futures rally to the upside. We see that yields are starting to come in just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Now, I will be honest with you guys. I did pull the trigger on a short when we got this number and it popped dramatically to the upside. I shorted some QQQ as well as some SPY. Now, again, it's an intraday trade. I'm not necessarily looking to hold for a long period of time, but the concept here is this. If we bring up the Qs chart, and I want to go to the intraday chart, let's take a look at this real-time data. All right, initially, look at this pop to the upside. All right, I got my short off at 319.13. So I got my short off right here. I'm already in the money a little bit on that trade, according to my P&L, up about $11,000 and change. So why the heck would I expect CPI to actually bring the markets back in check a little bit? Number one, we have PPI tomorrow. All right, so the producer price index is another inflation gauge tomorrow. Number two, Friday, we have JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo reporting earnings. Next week, a parade of tech earnings are going to start with Netflix next week. I am looking to short into this rally. Okay, so essentially this bounce is a great bounce pre-market, but looking to short, I'll look to pick up some individual swing trade shorts on the back of this. I know that's counterintuitive to a lot of you guys. So many people out there are hook, line, and sinker, bull market back in crypto, bull market back in stocks, bull market back every which way. I'm here to bring some sanity to the otherwise insane world and tell you that that is not the case. It's not the case because of this mere fact. All right, now I'm going to get into Bitcoin. I know that's the big question of the day. That's what everyone is really excited about. All right, so I'm going to go right to that. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and look at this, guys. If you were here last week, we talked about this channel, this consolidation range. Where did I say Bitcoin could go? I said it could go to 30,500. What was the high yesterday? 30,500 and change. What are we doing today? We're holding basically flat on Bitcoin. All right, you guys know, if you know, I shorted some Bitcoin V. This to me is the groundbreaking level. All right, so what I mean by groundbreaking level, and this is a very important concept, groundbreaking level is this is the Great Wall of China. This is the brick wall that has, that's 10 feet wide, whatever you want to call it. This level is a psychological major level. In addition, I saw someone mentioning it in the comments as well, is that keep in mind, the rally on Bitcoin has been on light volume lately. That's a concern. What that tells me is it's not big money buying. Not big money buying. You have to be aware of that. And that's something that, again, gets my attention as well. So, again, we should know over the next few days, maybe over the next 5 to 7 days, do we get above this level? Do we hold? In that case, then the low is in. All right. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to go bullish and buy Bitcoin. That's ridiculous. You would never buy and chase a move like this. What it means is if you get a confirmed bottom in on Bitcoin at 15,700, then on pullbacks, you start to buy more aggressively. At supports, you buy more aggressively. A lot of you guys probably saw that CPI number and you listened to CNBC and you're like, oh, it's a better than expected number. Holy cow, this is going to be the greatest thing for the markets. And then all of a sudden, markets are starting to fade here. wait a minute, what's going on? I thought it was a good number. Remember, guys, you have so many things coming up over the next few days and next few weeks. Big money is not going to buy heavily into this number, especially when we've seen such a dramatic rise in the Qs. The NASDAQ 100 has gone from 285 to a recent high of 321. It's holding pre-market here, trading. What is it trading at? Let me see right here. 318 and change, or and even down to the 317s now, looks like, right in that vicinity. So again, yeah, 318.21 right now, pulling back just a little bit. Now it's still green on the day, but the question is, can it hold the green? I am short the Qs. I'm short the S&P. Again, I got a tiny bit of my position short on NVIDIA there. So this is why the markets rallied, and now this is why the markets are giving it back. So number one, if we look at the intraday chart, look at this. All right, look at the drop in the dollar on the intraday 10-minute chart when that data came out. All right, why did it come? Why did the dollar drop? Well, the concept here is super simple. If inflation is dropping, then it means the Fed has to hike less. That means it potentially can even cut rates in the future. Notice that the markets rallied when the dollar dropped, and now the markets are pulling back a little bit when the dollar's rallying. So the dollar's getting a bounce. Number one, it was a big sell, so you generally get a technical bounce. Number two, just like I said, remember, if you look behind the curtains, there, the CPI data actually upticked if you strip out core stuff, which is food and energy. So there's still some little signs of kind of higher inflation in the system when you remove that food and energy from the calculation. Holy cow, but look at gold starting to come back in here, guys. Big drop on gold here. And again, this is the 10-minute chart. I love silver on the longer term. I love gold longer term. But when we look at these commodities, they have gone parabolic. Gold a little bit, not as much in the recent days, of course, but silver's move is parabolic, and I want to pull the trigger. Now, why would silver pull back and maybe gold hold up better? The answer is very simple on this. All right, gold goes up when fear is there. Even in a recession, gold can go up. If we start to get recessionary numbers, if earnings coming out over the next month show us that a lot of these companies, and by the way, Warren Buffett was just on CNBC, and he said one of his retailers, their year-over-year sales in the last month were down 22% from a year ago sales. So we know that the companies out there, we know from the warning that was basically the downgrade for Microsoft. We heard from Apple, analysts on Apple recently saying that that people aren't going to be upgrading their phone. It tells me that a recession is coming. To bring it full circle around to silver, what do we know? We know that silver is also an industrial metal. Silver, again, in general, that will go down if we go into a recession, even if you have the offsetting of fear and panic. Bitcoin, again, pulling back off of the initial pop on it. Take a look at the intraday chart. And here was your high from yesterday right here. And there's your high from today. Doesn't mean we won't take out that high, but remember, this is into a major level of resistance. Some of you guys asking, is it still priced in that Bitcoin could still go down to the 12 to 13,000 target, maybe even 9,000? The answer is, as long as we don't confirm and hold above 30,000, this 30,500 level right in this vicinity, the answer is yes. So again, that is still on the table. If we were to confirm and stay above there, then you have a different scenario where likely the 15.7 level, 15.6 level is a low pivot on the charts. And again, it's not to say that levels can't be broken. Levels eventually do get broken. The question is, do we have a pullback drop first off of this level here? And that's something I will be scanning and watching through here. XRP, to me, short-term resistance, and I think he would agree with me, short-term resistance was hit around 55 cents, 56 cents. You had that pivot top going back to September of 2022. It's pulled back. The only thing I have a little concern about is you're making a little bit of a bearish flag consolidation pattern over the last week or two. So again, doesn't mean there's a lot of downside. There's a lot of support around 47 cents, but it could have a little bit of a dip here, which also makes sense if we did see a pullback in some of these cryptos, like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, then you could also see that as a possibility. Ethereum, again, continues to struggle here. Same thing, even though Bitcoin recently took out its highs, Ethereum has not. So it is a little bit under pressure, and that could be creating a little bit of stress on some of those players out there. And so they usually step back. So you're going to lose a few buyers going into that event, which could explain why Ethereum is struggling just a little bit. So again, what we see here is actually bullish consolidation on TLT. What this tells me is yields eventually are going to go lower. So eventually this breaks out to the upside out of this channel here, classic bull flag channel. I don't know when it will happen, but what does this tell us? If yields are going to go down, what does it tell us? It tells us that we're likely headed into a recession. It tells us that the market is telling us that, smart money, essentially, the bond market is telling us that we are going into a recession at some point. Solana did have a breakout above this wedge pattern. I did talk about that in my verified investing crypto analysis just last night. The question here is, how high does it have? Short-term resistance right around 24 where it is, and then you have a lot of resistance coming up. So if you're someone who's in Solana, watch this level. This is going to be your mega level right here. See these pivot tops? That's right around $26.70. That is going to be a major, major level. Matic is not looking good, guys. All right, I don't know what's going on here, but the mere fact that it hasn't been able to get a bid when we've seen a lot, even Solana's gotten a bid now, that's problematic. It's just holding on to this trend line. If it breaks, there's not a lot of downside before it hits support, but that would be someone there as well. Can Sol reach the all-time highs? To be honest, I don't know. I mean, in years, yes, that's always a possibility, assuming it survives. But again, that's so far out. My analysis is not going to be accurate that far out.